I'm going to apologize in advance if I repeat stuff that I said on part 1, because I have the memory of a goldfish and
It's all good.
tend to repeat myself ad nauseum.
I recommend that young people get used to listening to people's stories more than once because it will never end. Like the older you get, you know, you stop making new stories, you know, just get used to it. Every time it's told, it's a little bit different, you know?
And sometimes it's just fun to go on the journey again. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of stories with my friends that we do them over and over again. And I used to be like, oh, yeah, I've heard this one, several times. But now I'm just like, let him go. It's fun to tell the story.
Yeah. See if he adds any new stuff.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I could get some, or maybe some stuff I forgot from the first time I heard the story.
All right. Yeah, they already know who we are. They've listened to part 1. So
If they haven't listened to part 1, what are they doing? Go back, listen to part 1.
that's right. Yes. Thank you, Jessie.
Tell the listeners what to do.
I'm Jeff, in case you didn't know. I don't know how you got here, but I love your moxie. Now go listen to part 1 already.
Yes, absolutely. I'm Jessie.
I'm Jeff. This is the Great and Secret Knowledge, a speculative fiction podcast. We got through half of Doctor Who on Disney Plus, Season 2, Episode 8, The Reality War. And if you want to follow along where I am, I stopped at around 36 minutes. Oh, so they just shot Omega back into his hole. Ruby kind of wished for things. Did she wish for the world to be back to normal, or was that a thing the doctor did?
She just kissed his head. She kissed the baby's head and said, "End the wish."
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, she didn't. Wasn't an I wish, but it was like, wish over. Boom. Done.
Well, next up, the doctor's like, "Where's my TARDIS?" And I was like, "Oh shit, it's here." The doctor runs. The TARDIS arrives. Ruby has the baby inside the TARDIS.
Did you think the doctor was going to drop off into space if he didn't make it to the TARDIS as the Bone Palace disappeared?
Well, no. The doctor survives falls from great heights often.
That's true. That's true. But I want to once again go, you were correct that at least a section of the Bone Palace was the TARDIS. That you predicted that in our Wish World episode.
Indeed.
So credit where it's due. Well done. Good theory.
So it was there the whole time? It was just obscured?
Yes. Remember when the Rani said, haven't you wondered all this time just where your TARDIS is?
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense as to how it probably helps maintain the wish. Because you can have the, it's containing Conrad, and that's where they were keeping him captured. No, I'm sure there's some, bit like the paradox machine in The Last of the Time Lords to parallel that one again.
Yeah. Gosh, I love Doctor Who.
Me too.
Oh, this baby is cute now. It's not a creep. It can have actual emotions.
The giggle was never explained. Like why the baby did the giggle. Did they, like, was that just there to creep us out?
Well, I think the baby is related to the toy maker,
Oh,
and
yeah, they're god.
it's a
Yeah,
god,
Vicky.
so
Mm.
it's, I guess, you know, that maybe they bleed through each other sometimes.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, there was a fair bit of crossover with, like, the Devil's Hood. Did Jinx play the da 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 da? I'm pretty sure that came up in the Devil's Hoard with Maestro as well.
Hmm.
It could just be like a signifier, or there might be some thing tied in. In the 2 days since we've recorded, I did hear a rumor that this was original, that there might have been a 3-season arc in the planning. I don't
Hmm.
know how accurate that is.
Plays into your sneaky secret cheeky third season theory.
Doesn't it just? Doesn't it just? And we don't know who the boss is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We didn't get a payoff from Susan.
Yeah.
There's a few like little strings left hanging. Like, who is the boss? It could be Jack
Ooh.
or the face of Bo.
Interesting.
It could be the master.
I feel like it has to be somebody of flexible morals because they're letting their subordinates do all kinds of shady stuff.
Well, we did get the seal of Rassilon with no payoff of the seal. Like, there's no Rassilon payoff.
Yeah.
Who's the boss of the Time Lords?
It's Rassilon, baby.
Absolutely.
So the doc wishes for no more wishes, and that makes Desiderium into a normal child?
Yes. Normal human baby.
Wow. Next, he flies to the basement, and Ruby said, "Let's wish for Poppy," and then Doc said, "No more wishes." Was that the doctor giving up Poppy?
I don't know.
I can't think of any other explanation. And that would neatly tie the bow on why he wasn't more sad about not being the baby's father.
Maybe he just knew that having a baby in the TARDIS would just ruin everyone's good time.
Man, I bet a lot of deadbeat dads wish they could pull that switch.
True. It's but I don't, again, like, just like, I think that having Poppy there, kind of, I'm like, did they potentially ruin Belinda's life by introducing this kid she never had? But that's
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, it's hard to get past that. So, the doc steps out of the TARDIS. He opens the Zero box. Belinda's in there with Poppy, and everyone cheers.
Hey, Poppy.
Oh, the doc is so emotional. Mm.
Well, we've come to expect that from this doctor, right?
Oh, absolutely. Look at how much he loves this little baby. Oh. Kate's got the squinty eye smile, that like grandmotherly look going on.
Yeah. Is this when she has her like little cheeky kiss with Colonel Ibrahim?
Maybe. I might have missed that. They end up back at Ruby's flat.
I had to hand over the baby.
Yeah. We're probably close to the end of what this episode was supposed to end at, kind of, before they got all the bad news.
So I mean, there's obviously the theory that's out there that this was all written for Ruby, which I do think makes more sense because all of her storylines are very tied in with motherhood. She was abandoned. She'd want to create that. I believe she'd want to create that relationship. And I do wonder if it originally Poppy was Desiderium and they weren't separate babies. And
Yes.
she was supposed to wind up with Ruby, not. But when Millie Gibson didn't want to do season 2, they had to kind of shoehorn in Belinda,
I was complaining to
which.
AJ about this, like how my hot take is I think anytime cast members leave a show, they should have to rewrite all scripts in production. And he was like, well, that causes a lot of chaos. And I was like, yeah, and no studio's going to pay 2 writers for one story. They're just going to give it to Russell to tidy up.
But he's done it before when he was right. So again, to go back to the writer's tale, which I know I've mentioned before, um, in the beginning of that, he's writing the beginning of season 4 while the Martha season is in production, right? So he starts with this character, Penny, who's investigating adipose industries. And while he's building this character up in his mind and working out what it's going to be, they find out they can get Catherine Tate. And so then he's got to rewrite the whole thing, the whole story, which he's already started around this character called Penny, who, got the usual Russell companion start. We get to see them going about their day, how they, the first time they meet the doctor, all of that, but you do a lot of establishing, like you did with Rose and Martha. So they did that with this character, Penny, in the original scripts. Then they found they were getting Catherine Tate. And so they had to then change it to the doctor meeting Donna again. But Penny still exists. You remember the journalist
Mm-hmm.
that was investigating adipose industries? That was like, and should have buggered off when the doctor untied her, but she decided to start sitting there and going through the files instead of just pinching them all and running away. That's Penny.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
Russell has history of kind of using what he's got and building on that. And maybe he'd gotten further along with what he was going to do with season 2 here, which would make sense, than just starting a new season post companion leaving.
Yeah. It's almost like Belinda suffers for having come out so strong.
Mm.
Like if she had always been kind of a supporting, almost background character or like less active, people might have been okay with her being sidelined near the end. I don't know. But she's just so fantastic that it's like, where is she? Why is she in a box?
Which is not the first time she's been sidelined. Story in the engine.
Yep, yep. Just hanging out in the TARDIS.
Maybe because they wrote around, again, it's stuff they would have written for Millie. I have this horrible, like, and I do think the season, maybe not the whole season, like the episodes where she's strong and she's a part of the story are the best ones. Like The Well, Lux,
Yeah,
like even the Robot Revolution.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas when you take, like, when you've got like Lucky Day, she's barely in that.
Yeah, and that one could never have been her story anyway. Like,
No,
she had
and
no
I,
prior relationship with Unit.
yeah, exactly. But I think the whole baby ending. So what if Poppy and Desiderium originally were one?
Yeah. Well, and that would have fueled the thoughts that it might be the Timeless Child even more. A god of wishes that is also Ruby's baby, you know?
Exactly. So that might be part of why this feels so full. A lot happened, and I
Mm-hmm.
do think a bit the story suffers for it.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think we needed Omega. The Rani could have just been trying to do something else, And I think that would have been more powerful. Like, just trying to bring Gallifrey back some other way. So we
Yeah, I
didn't
mean
need another
I
space
don't
monster.
mind the trope of like somehow she broke into a dimension so dangerous that it threatens to destroy us.
Yeah, sure.
But personifying it with this generic monster it doesn't do anything. Especially if it
That
eats
would
her
have,
right off the bat.
yeah, that happened so quickly and it felt like such a waste.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and why do the newly regenerated one? Eating Mrs. Flood would have made more sense.
I mean, people like Mrs. Flood better, maybe. Maybe they just want to transition into Rani calling herself Mrs. Flood from now on so they don't have to deal with the whole Hindi for Queen thing.
It's true.
Like maybe they could only get Archie for a couple episodes. I hate thinking about all these production decisions.
Sorry.
I mean, no, it's unavoidable. It's just, I want my third season now.
Oh, what if I didn't want to get my hopes up? The War on
Yeah.
Land and Sea is probably just going to be the War of the Land and Sea. Another. Um, why the Sea Devils though?
Well, they have to be redeemed, right? They were so ineffectual in the special, just sort of
So truly.
somersaulting around.
There are some episodes that I skip almost every time, and that is one.
Yeah. Could also be Silurians because they were working with the Sea Devils in Warriors of the
Yeah,
Deep.
they're like cousins, right?
Mm-hmm. Or it could be a third strain of Silurian peoples.
I like the Silurian. Whenever they bring those guys in, I'm always a fan because it's such an interesting concept.
The idea of if the natives were powerful enough to destroy us, would they? It's a, I don't know, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, that they're just no different to humans. They're evolved. They're an evolved, um, you know, Terran Earth species
Yeah.
that have just had their time, and then because then it's both of their like it's all of our planet.
Yeah.
There's no sense of ownership, but in the way where when it's an extraterrestrial.
Yeah. Well, this baby is a foundling, just like Ruby and the Doc. Doc forges the paperwork so Joseph will be able to live with Carla. And Cherry's talking shit as usual.
She got nastier, or is that just me? Like she seemed so much
I think
nicer than
she's
what
more
last season.
comfortable with the doctor, and so she's like gentle ribbing. I don't think she's done anything cruel or
So that's a me thing.
nasty.
I do not cope with understanding. Like I cannot decipher someone making fun from a place of love from
Ah,
being actually mean. My brain won't differentiate. I've got no. It's like one of my most tism things.
yeah. I mean, it's a dangerous line, you know, and it's different with every one of your friends or family members. How much either of you will accept or engage with.
And I have a tendency to go too hard when I try to participate in it.
Same.
Like, here's some truth that someone actually really feels bad about in their own mind, and they really just hit a nerve on an insecurity, and I'm like, I was just trying to do the fun back and forth thing.
Once I told a guy in our circle that I really liked his gray socks, and he looks around at our friends, and one of them's like, "Yeah, they used to be white."
Oh,
So he thinks I'm
Oh.
busting his balls about his
Mm.
hygiene, and meanwhile I'm just like, oh, I like gray socks.
Yeah, fully acting with absolute, like, good intention. Completely, I'm cool, I'm chill. And but the same in reverse, right? I can't tell. And it's quite funny. There's a couple of my friends who, because through talking about this stuff, now I know they know to give me a little bit of an extra, like, facial cue, like a wink, wink,
Mm,
nudge, nudge, bit of a cheeky grin,
I like that.
because they know I need that. Because there's always this tiny part of my brain that just goes, "Did they mean that? Is that real?" That awful thing that is obviously not true that you just said to my face, but do you really think that? Even though, just, yeah, my brain won't do it.
Mm.
So perhaps that's why Cherry Sunday seemed so much more abrasive to me in this season compared to last season. I thought she was like kind of fun, charming, get me a cup of tea. That's fine. Because, yeah, they call, what's Ruby's mum's name? Carla. The doctor called her the best mum in the world, and then Cherry Sunday's like, "Now that's me, Dad." I wouldn't want to do it. I love her though. I'm still on board. Maybe Mrs. Flood rubbed off on her when she was looking after her when they got dusted by Sutek.
mm. God, I love this scene in the TARDIS where they're all around the crib talking about how they're gonna adjust the TARDIS, and then it just goes so bad.
The folding of that jacket
Oof.
was phenomenally written show don't tell.
Yeah,
Like,
just brutal. We're experiencing what Ruby is experiencing. Just like, what is going on? Is that a magical doctor blanket? Yikes.
I realized she was gone as
Mm.
they kept passing it back and forth, because I heard the change in their language, the way they were clearly just talking about just the two of them going off doing stuff. Whereas in the
Mm.
beginning, it was about them showing stuff to Poppy. It was very well done. But I was relieved the baby was gone. And then, oh no, she's back.
In the year 60,000, there is a planet called New Delhi. Hmm. Yeah, the doctor says, I knew I would get you in the end.
Mm.
It's almost like how if you're in a cop show or movie and a guy starts talking about how he can't wait for retirement.
Yes.
It's like, oh, Russell, we know you're doing something. And then boom, the baby's gone.
Did you notice the crib was originally Conrad's bed?
I wondered. It looked like,
Because there was just a bed there when it changed back to the TARDIS. There was still all the furniture that had been in Conrad's little room was in the TARDIS.
oh, strange.
And in that exact spot, it went from being a single bed to a crib.
Interesting. So Belle and Doc don't remember Poppy. Ruby's looking all melancholy. The doctor goes to throw the Star Register out into space because the Earth still exists, so it needs to be out there in space for some
Yeah,
reason.
so the robots can find it, so Belinda can, like, it's, yeah.
Fix in
And the way it goes
history.
back and just fixes stuff in the, I'm trying to think of what it was in a previous episode where the doctor had to go back and leave something so it could be found by him later.
Yeah. Is that a bootstrap paradox? Here we have the time schwoops, so it's a little different, I guess.
I think because there's nothing. that was created out of it, there isn't a bootstrap paradox. Joy to the World, that's when he did it.
Yeah, with the code.
Yeah. That was a bootstrap paradox. Where to get the code from
Yeah.
in the first place. But
So I like how Belinda is really tactile. Like, even though she's basically just met Ruby, she's like gentle with her. I feel like she's a little oblivious to Ruby's obvious concern. But I mean, she is about to go home and get everything she wanted, you know.
yeah.
But it's also part of her laughing when Ruby says they had a baby. Like, it feels weird.
Belinda and the Doctor laugh together at people quite a bit, really.
Yeah. That part kind of reminds me of Rose and
Rose and
10.
Jack and 10 when they all turn up in Cardiff.
Yeah, or in the when they meet the Queen. Wolf and Claw? Tooth and Claw?
Oh yeah, Tooth and Claw. Yeah, they they are particularly full of themselves in that episode. I've heard that commented on. I think it was Flat Through Entirety.
So, and a lot of people have complained about this, and I, as a Star Trek fan, one of the things I love about Star Trek is that Starfleet officers like never second guess the other's experience. Like, if somebody's like, or rarely anyway, like if somebody's like, I see visions and somebody's talking to me in my dreams and all this stuff, like the captain will hear them out and, you know, we'll talk it over, we'll see the doctor, you know. Whereas
There's no
here,
denying their experience.
right here, the doctor is telling Ruby to her face, like, you're wrong. You must be confused, which I'm sure the doctor has done that before, but I don't like it.
It makes me feel like the Doctor knew the way they shot Shooty's face there.
He did say no more wishes, and like, as if he expected Poppy to disappear.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Now you put that thought out there.
But he's acting as if he doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Is the doctor a really good actor?
Well, rule one, the Doctor
Yes.
lies.
I mean, what a thing to lie about. Like, I didn't want a baby, so I let it disappear.
Well, that he also seems very relieved when she calls him Uncle Doctor later.
Here's a twist. There's a storyline in Star Trek Picard where a character deals with having had a child that they didn't know about.
Yes.
And that they had spent their whole life working in Starfleet and having that family and feeling robbed of this whole other family, but at the same time conflicted. Oh, but the reason I brought it up is because the reason that the mother kept the kid away was because it would be in danger its entire life because of who its dad was. And here, maybe the doctor thinks any baby is in danger. I don't know.
I mean, I did think that was weak in Picard of the mother in question. Like, weak excuse not to, like, be honest about your kid. I think there's a responsibility there. But if the Doctor knew, the implication is huge.
I feel like he can't know because he gets so gung-ho and excited about solving the problem.
And that's the Doctor. Particularly this Doctor. Belinda comments on it earlier in this season.
Maybe it was seeing how much Belinda wanted it. Did she even want it?
Or Belinda didn't remember it.
Yeah, like Ruby kind of convinces them. And then Belinda's like, you got to save the baby.
I mean, they went from saying your mind is special, you've got a special talent for knowing when something's going on, literally earlier in that same scene,
Yeah.
to then completely dismissing her that it might be true again.
Yeah,
The
I'm gonna
doctor
have to.
literally
I'm gonna
just
have to
said,
give Russell an L for that one. That is just too inconsistent. Like, I need
agreed.
to know that the doctor is super compromised to the point where he can't even fathom that Ruby might be right. Because, like, that's a thing you don't want to get wrong. Like, we accidentally deleted somebody.
Yeah, and it's not like the doctor. One of the doctor is always going on about how every single never in all the time, how many years in time and space, if I met anyone who wasn't important.
Do you know, in 900 years of time and space, I've never met anyone who wasn't important before.
So Ruby says, you have a daughter, the two of you together, and they like laugh. Ruby looks pissed. They say, I think I'd remember that. Imagine. Ugh. She's like, what do you think the cod is? And it's gone. Doc says Ruby's memories got scrambled, and I already complained about all that. So we return to unit. It's May the 24th, and Ruby is fucking tripping out. This is just perhaps her finest performance, I think, this scene. She's just like, why is nobody listening to me? Am I going to have to save this baby? I don't know how to run the TARDIS. You know, like, there's got to be so much, or it looks like there's so much going on under the surface. And she's just trying to figure out how she can fix it. It's very rare that a problem of an episode rests on convincing the doctor to do the right thing. It's a real reversal.
It is. And the doctor not believing a companion, it just doesn't ring true.
There's got to be examples of it. Surely William Hartnell discounted Susan a few times. Ian.
Oh, yeah.
Pertwee and Joe. I'm sure Joe had said, I heard a monster. And he's like, oh, yes, Joe. I'll take your tea and drink it.
Well, Ruby does convince the doctor in the end.
That's right. That's right. Everybody's celebrating. Kate offers Anita a job. She says no. And she says she has a boss. And Doc says, park in that, which is a reference to Ruby from all the way back in Space Babies. Or maybe at the end of Church on Ruby Road when she walks in and he kind of gives her the rundown of time travel and how the TARDIS works and stuff. She says, all right, park in that.
Park in that?
Ruby asks if there are any changes. And they say, yes, there are. Ernest Borgnine is still alive. Teal's slightly more blue, etc. And Mel says we found Conrad, and he seems happy. There's no scoundrelly business. And
yeah, he
Ruby's
works in like a restaurant.
Yeah, because she wished him to be happy. So, of course, he must have had an entirely different life. Maybe his mom got help for whatever she was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he got taken away from her. I'd love to know. Let's see. I've got a soundbite here.
That Conrad's been forgotten, even by himself. I think Ruby did a very kind thing.
I'm always happy when they save the world with kindness.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it's the power of love. It's finding a way for the villain to surrender and possibly change their ways or make some sort of amends.
That's why we watch Doctor Who, right? For the hope.
Yeah. the values. So, still no one remembers Poppy. The Flinks had no records of her existence. Doc and Belle continue to lay shade on her. And she says,
Don't you see? There's another world. A slightly different reality, and it might just be a tiny little change, but she's a child. She's a little girl, and she's so beautiful. Her name is Poppy. And she's lost somewhere out there.
So my problem with that is there's how many billion people in the world? The assumption is that surely, like statistically, Poppy's not the only baby that's disappeared. The only person that has ceased to exist. If Ernest Borgnine's still alive, then surely someone who, at the very least, was dead, was alive, is dead.
If it's not like precise, if it's like a fluctuating quantum state, then surely there would be eddies of like an entire town went missing, or like
yes, exactly.
People live under the water now, or whatever, like there'd be some real outliers. Would there be new people to offset all the missing people? Would nobody have gone missing except Poppy? Like there's just no way to know because they don't seem interested in finding out.
That's my problem. That's exactly my problem. If you're there, like, why is Poppy the only potentially unpersoned person? Why is that one only important? Just because they know her? Like, sometimes it's just like you're lucky to be friends with the doctor to not be collateral damage.
Well, the Ernest Borgnine being alive thing really fucks with me because it tells us that unit can tell what has changed, but it can't tell that Poppy's gone? What's the difference?
Exactly.
Maybe because Poppy was born of a wish and the other people just sort of lived or died according to natural laws.
That's the only way that makes sense.
I would love it if at the end of this scene, a woman comes running in crying, saying like, nobody knows her husband and remembers his existence.
Yeah.
And they're like, hold on, we're dealing with this baby situation.
Yeah. Sorry, you're not friends with the doctor, so you don't care.
That's the thing. If they opened it up, it would just change the entire episode. It would make it a structural, essentially a space problem rather than a personal problem.
So my other issue is, if this is a slightly different universe, then we're talking multiverse, right? Therefore, there would be another Doctor, another Ruby, and another Belinda in the universe where Poppy exists. So I think that's part of it, is when like they're not obeying the laws of the multiverse by, like, who's to say which timeline is the correct timeline? Usually it's the timeline.
I think that's why the Doctor focuses so much on it being the tiniest shift. Because it's like, if it's tiny enough, nobody will really be changed out of true. They'll still be basically who they would have been. The only difference is that the universe would have accommodated to fit this child. Like putting Richie and Belinda together to, be its parents.
So you're not thinking multiverse?
Doctor Who doesn't do the multiverse. They don't get into it.
Yes, they do. Pete's World.
They do Pete's World, but that's like, it's almost impossible to get there. You can't stay there. It's just like a huge gulf.
Exactly.
Right? Whereas this is like, we're not going to ever go back to the next step over world. You know what I mean? There's no...
I guess it just implies the existence of a prime timeline.
Yeah, it's like Loki in that way. I wonder if there's a temporal authority that tidies up the timeline, or if it just sort of happens naturally.
There is. They're Time Lords.
Yeah, I thought they just did big things, but maybe they do tiny things too.
Well, the Doctor's referenced it about once upon a time there was people who managed this stuff. That was my people, blah, 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 blah. Then they got arrogant, then they got too much like authoritative above the work, like not too full of themselves anyway.
They got too powerful.
Yeah.
Get too powerful for too long, bad things happen.
Yeah. So it's not. I suppose maybe it's like in the Stolen Earth, where the Daleks were hiding all those planets 1 second out of time. The Medusa
Right.
Cascade.
Yeah, was that the Stolen Earth, Journey's End?
Yeah, Stolen Earth, Journey's End. I literally watching it last night.
So right around 49 minutes, Kate says, "You saved all of us. Sometimes I think we are all your children."
Another reference to Jenny's End.
Yeah, a lot of people have not liked that. They feel it's needlessly paternalistic. Puts him on the same level as God.
And that's kind of been the theme when they reference Conrad being God. But it's I think it was done so much better in Journey's End. Possibly because it's Davros saying it.
It's a little
have
contemptuous.
Yeah.
And like from the outside. See, I don't know that Kate in her character as written wouldn't say it, but it seems odd to say it out in front of God and the world, you know, the entire office. I don't know. It seems like a personal thing rather than... It's also kind of making the subtext text, which is dangerous.
It's true. One of my notes is, has Russell run out of things to say?
No. I mean, he's got a lot of scripts to write and tidy up, so he brings back a lot of old notions.
Oh, you've spent this whole season comparing it to Martha.
Sure. I guess I just feel like he's trying to stay with the times and not just sink into the quicksand of liberal comfort, privilege, you know. He's open to some new ideas. But that's not to say that he doesn't live like a rich person and isn't getting new sort of relatable experiences to draw on. And it can get kind of derivative.
He's written quite a bit autobiographically, like maybe less so with Doctor Who, but maybe also not. Like there's, you can see when Moffat does it too, he writes himself in.
Yep.
Like the entirety of the Capaldi run is just a grumpy Scotsman. Like it's...
Yeah. So at 49:21, Ruby says, "We're missing one person, your daughter." Or the Doctor says, "We're missing one person." She says, "Your daughter." I have a daughter. So yeah, he's either acting up a storm or he really didn't know.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I don't want to. I want to feel like he's being shady somehow. But he's convincing when he says, "I swear on my life that I will find her." And see, even though Belinda doesn't have a baby in this universe, when he says, "I'll find her," she seems all in. Like, she seems like, if I had one, I should have it, you know, which to me supports the idea that she would be a good mom, or at least wants to be, would accept being, you know, but that's small comfort.
I just couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't understand it. Like, that would not be my reaction.
Yeah.
Because I think so much of, like, what would that emotional connection would have been built out of the experience.
Right. It's those 2 or 3 years that just came out of nowhere that would change. Well, we talked about it last time. It would change your personality completely. So Kate says, I want to help. We've got temporal dams. We've got retrodynamic Artron cascades. The doctor says time is shifted by 1 degree. So I have to shift it back. And the only technology in the universe that can do it is a blast of Artron energy from a regeneration.
Into the TARDIS.
Into the TARDIS. He says there's only one thing that's strong enough to change reality. The last of the Time Lords. So another text or subtext becomes text. We're just directly referencing that episode.
Yep.
Next, the Doc is in the TARDIS having a think. He doesn't seem to be enjoying what he has to do. He's kind of steeling himself for it.
Is the implication that he doesn't know if he'll need all of his regenerations and that would make it the last one? Because there was definitely a reference to that.
He says something about his soul, which we've never discussed before. But maybe with it being more about fantasy this time that Russell is okay with bringing that in. But maybe there's a chance if you use up too much that it will wipe out all the doctors.
But it's also, there's this is, that a lot of that using up your regenerations shouldn't apply now.
It shouldn't apply. Yeah.
Timeless child, anything could happen. You don't know what's going to happen. And I guess he doesn't know, and that's kind of because he's been trained believing he was just, with Time Lord law, right?
Yeah.
So that would be hard to shake, that this is the principles of our existence where regenerations are limited, to then knowing that you're not that would be hard to shake, but knowing, like, so he doesn't know what's going to happen if he puts max regeneration energy, like what would have any other Time Lord taken him out for good, maybe.
Interesting. Well, he sees this clip show of all his former faces, and he says, let's be honest, I was the best. And 13 rolls into shot, and I about shit myself. She says,
I screamed.
Oh, I love it. She says, okay, the best male.
But don't tell the others.
But don't tell the others. She runs down. I love this line. Does it really need to be bigger in a room defined by its bigness?
Oh, she's so good.
She's all manic as usual. She's like, I've been popped out.
And they did my favorite callback joke that happens anytime you've got a multi-doctor story going right back, I think, to whatever the first one, the 3 doctors. You've redecorated. I don't like it.
I can see you've been doing the TARDIS up a bit. I don't like it.
That happens a lot, and whenever you get multiple doctors, and I love that. That's just a nice little... Get that there. I love it. Makes all the haters, the Jodie haters, they can't just cut out those 3. She's there. She's rocking around. She's interacting with Shooty.
So this softens the blow for me a little bit, not getting 14 back to help.
I'd prefer Jodie.
To have 13. No, I love Jodie. Forget about it. Like, she was the first one to start when I started watching. Like, I think she's fantastic. Full stop. She's great. This is a great scene.
And she just slipped back into that energy perfectly.
Yeah. He says, time needs to be shifted, Doctor, so I'm going to punch a ton of regeneration energy into the vortex to jolt it 1 degree, giving your life a life for a life. And he's like, are you here to stop me? And at first you're like, is she going to argue with him? And she just hugs him. It's like, nah, that was never going to work.
Yeah. I like it when they show up to support each other like that, though.
Yeah.
That goes back to the Day of the Doctor. He stands there with Matt Smith and David Tennant, and they're like, this time you don't have to do it alone.
Man.
You were the Doctor on the day it wasn't possible to get it right. But this time, you don't have to do it alone.
Ooh.
That's
But they
what
don't
this gave me vibes of.
They don't remember after they meet because of the Blinovich limitation effect or something. Like, they never remember their multi-Doctor episodes, if I remember my lore correctly.
Maybe that's
it's
something that's
changed.
just been done away with, like so many other pieces of canon in a 62-year show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that they've just gone, we're just going to pretend that we never did that.
Yep. A wizard
Like
did it.
Susan naming the TARDIS.
I made up TARDIS from the initials. Time and relative dimension in space.
Yeah. Oh, forget about it. That decision flowed backwards in time to some Time Lords 100 years earlier, you know?
Otherwise, no other Time Lord that we've turned up would have a TARDIS that they referred to as TARDIS.
Yeah, they used to
If
call them
Susan
travel
made it up,
capsules.
yeah.
So I think the Doctor and Susan met the designer of the Type 40 or whatever and said the word. It was just like Isaac Newton and Mavity. Just said the word.
All right,
and the guy
I'll
was
accept
like,
that.
TARDIS. Yeah, TARDIS.
Maybe that's why we had Mavity the whole time. Maybe that's Russell trying to tie up that loose end about the TARDIS.
Oh,
Knowing
I
they were
like
going to
it.
bring back Susan.
I like it.
Oh, I really do like that. That makes it feel tidier. That's one loose end tied up. Done.
Yeah. So they hug it out. And then he says, this is going to eat my soul. No chance of biogeneration. She's like, what? He's like, never mind. And then she gives him a little bit of advice, some fun technobabble. Try shifting your third strand of phenotype markers 1 microspasm to the left. Just might help.
So I think this is Russell trolling the haters again. Because there were a lot of jokes about a woman doctor not being able to drive a TARDIS. When Jodie first was announced, that joke was everywhere on the internet. And it's absolutely appalling. And it just feeds in something completely inaccurate that women are bad drivers. But the fact that she told him how to make the TARDIS work better really feels like Russell just doing a little heh.
So timey-wimey is still a thing.
Yeah.
They're like, we never change. He says, I love you, which completely contradicts that. And he's like, you never say it to Yaz, but she knows. And 13 splits.
Just so happy that was my favorite bit in the whole episode.
Really?
Yep.
I haven't decided yet what was my
Multi-Doctor.
favorite. But yeah, that was pretty fucking great.
And they kept it secret too. Normally Russell's sets leak like a sieve. But there was no rumor, no nothing. I had not heard a single pipe about there being a multi-Doctor scene with Jodie and Shooty.
Wild. The 15 theme fires up. The Doc rips the energy out of himself. His fists are on fire. He launches the energy up and into the TARDIS. There's this fun glass breaking effect. Kind of gave me a little Lux vibes. The idea that the destruction of the TARDIS is destroying the glass in the windows or something.
Mm.
And boom, we're in a new universe. Just like that.
And this is where the Doctor's lying on the grass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He blows on his hand to stop the regeneration.
Now, does Belinda Belinda lives in London, correct?
Yeah, this is a multi-million-dollar property.
There is no way an ER nurse affords a yard that big in
It has to be
London.
her mom's house, right? Like her mom's been taking care of Poppy and she's stopped in to take care. Just
or maybe
kinda
she lives with
stay
her
there.
mum.
Oh, and her mom left to go play violin.
Yeah.
So she's maybe house sitting.
And if she's quite a famous violinist
She can afford to have her kids live at home.
and also afford a property that big
Yes.
anywhere in the United Kingdom, you do not see yards like that unless people are insanely wealthy, in my experience anyway.
Like well-manicured lawns and all manner of beautiful
You'd
plants.
need a landscaping team to manage that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the doc comes in and he is just overjoyed to see Poppy. Poppy, 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 Poppy. Oh, this might be my favorite part. Just seeing how happy he is to see her. Oh boy. Belinda calls him Bad Penny. That's some idiom I'm not familiar with.
The bad penny is definitely it's just a term for bad influence in a group kind of thing. As far as I'm aware now you're making me doubt my colloquialisms.
I thought maybe it was something that keeps turning up. I'm looking it up. No, you're right. According to the AI, it's a person or thing that is unpleasant, unwanted, or desirable, especially one that repeatedly appears or reappears at inopportune times. So I think she's being ironic because clearly this isn't an inopportune time. He's not unpleasant. She's happy to see him.
It's probably that, gentle ribbing again.
Yeah. So she remembers stopping the Rani. And then all of UNIT got busy all of a sudden. Then I turned around and you'd gone. And I had to get back home. That was the point.
But she wasn't even part of stopping the Rani. She was in her little box.
Maybe she doesn't remember that bit. Maybe that didn't happen in this section of the universe.
So Poppy was just there and real the whole time. Or
Right, Poppy was with her mom.
yeah. Or maybe Wish Poppy and Real Poppy are two different things.
Weird. I think it still has to be Wish Poppy because it looks like the space baby. And his name's Poppy.
That's the biggest issue I have with this entire thing is that it's the space baby. How, if the Doctor hasn't met, if Poppy is real and Poppy is Belinda's daughter with Richie Akambala, how is Poppy in space? In Space Babies?
No, I think it's the other way around. It's like because the Doctor met this kid and bonded with her and thought she was great, that when his mind went to create a baby for the scenario.
So for that to work, that means Poppy wasn't real in the beginning.
Poppy was real in the future, but not now.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. So that means that Poppy is inserted in. She's like Dawn in Buffy, just inserted in for space reasons.
Yes.
And she wasn't real the whole time. Therefore, Belinda is now saddled because the Doctor met a space baby that he liked Belinda is now saddled with a kid permanently that she didn't have prior.
But she asked him to do it. I don't think he would have done it if she had said, I don't want a baby. But she is technically a different person now. It's convoluted and strange. It's weird that we're talking about something this Baroque.
But it's the thing that really bothers me about the episode, I guess. So I keep going back to it in my mind. I'm like, here's another reason this doesn't work.
It really would have been much cleaner if it had been the God of Wishes. It had been Ruby that brings it home to Carla.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't have to go back in time 2 or 3 years to...
It's unfortunate, and I tend to, like Adam mentioned on his pod, about how it's a little bit lazy.
The seams are showing. Like, they want the doc to have had the experience of having a baby, but they don't actually want him to have a baby because it saddles the show with a baby, right?
And we don't want that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that kid is going to grow up and not want to act anymore, or it's, going to move. Like, something's going to change.
I would argue there are very few episodes of Doctor Who that are on the good side that also have children in.
Right.
Now, this could just be a me thing, but if you think about some of the episodes that have involved actual children, most of them are pretty trash.
Yeah.
Like in the Forest of the Night, Fear Her, Nightmare in Silver.
Oof. Courtney wasn't terrible in The Caretaker.
Actually,
it was Courtney, right?
Whatever that is an exception. I will agree with, but I think that's because it's centered around, because it's part of the actual plot rather than the kids. There's just kids there.
Oh, they're just out adventuring, risking life and limb for a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very irresponsible of the Doctor to drag kids around time and space.
Exactly. That's what the Sarah Jane Adventures are for.
But you did hit the nail on the head at the start of the season when you said, or I guess Story in the Engine, when you were like, oh, they brought back this kid probably because it was easy to work with. Because she was easy to work with, and they didn't have to find a different baby that they hadn't worked with or something. I don't know.
And Russell loves doing that. Prima Argument, Verada Setu. Peter Capaldi even came back from the fires of Pompeii. I mean, I know that he was cast by Moffat, but the show does love to bring back actors wherever they... Alan Cumming.
Mm-hmm.
And they will just foggy over it. Eve Miles is another good example. Is Gwen in The Unquiet Dead, and then she is like the main character in Torchwood.
Yeah. Let's see. All these weeks she's been talking about Poppy. He meets Lakshmi, her mom. More flashbacks to show that she had Poppy with a guy named Richie Akingbola. And then the Doctor scans the kid without asking.
I noticed that.
Its mom.
After she's already complained about him scanning her.
What are we
earlier
doing?
In the season.
The Doctor has a photographic memory. That shouldn't happen. And if Belinda was still her powerful self, she'd be like, we've been over this, Doctor. You have to ask.
I think that's what annoys me the most about this outcome for Belinda. Belinda as a mum isn't as assertive as Belinda as a single badass ER nurse.
So the kid's 100% human. Lakshmi comes back in. Belinda goes off looking for something. And Doc has a moment with Poppy.
That's when he should have scanned her.
Yes. Well, it's still a violation, but...
At least it would have been true to, like, him remembering the previous conversation.
Yeah. If you're going to do that, you got to turn the sound down. Because Belinda be like, what are you sonicking?
How can you turn the sound down on a sonic screwdriver? It's kind of the point.
That's a great point, Jessie. I have been schooled.
Oh, it's Sonic.
So he has this lovely moment with Poppy. I noticed that Shooty, he's got this wild curly vein on the side of his temple.
Mm.
Did you notice this? Like when he was really looking stressed, it's like it just jumped out.
I did not notice it, but I'll take your word for it. I probably will never unnotice it when I rewatch this episode now.
It's just in like one or two shots. Man, what does he say? You're clever, old me. He's really wistful, like he wishes the change hadn't gone that far.
Mm.
That's what I think.
I can also feel the regeneration coming. They do get a little bit emotional when they can feel the regeneration bubbling up. I'm thinking of Capaldi, I'm thinking of Jodie, there's, even Matt, especially Matt Smith.
Will the next Doctor have any emotional connection to Poppy at all? Or will that just kind of slough off?
Depends on if they can get the kid in.
I meant canonically, like, do new Doctors sort of not have the same affection for past companions? Because it felt like the Doctor was a little... Felt like the Doctor was a little hands off with Sarah at points. He's happy to see her, but I don't know, it seemed off. And then what was the last example? Was it 13 with Tegan? It felt a little like, I don't know. They were really close. They went through a ton of shit together.
I suppose different people have different emotional responses to being left behind by the Doctor.
I'm mostly just thinking about the Doctor, though. Like, the Doctor's feeling jar seems a little low for former companions, which usually could probably just be down to the fact that the actor has never met them.
I think it's because it's that whole thing about being an immortal, right? And the Doctor has been very clear about the fact that they need to leave their companions because they don't like watching them sit around and watch them age and die. Like River mentions this as well. And so there's always a point where each Doctor kind of goes, gotta go, leave you on a beach somewhere now. Sorry. Because I can't watch you age, and while I don't, and like that's a part of being immortal. Like he talks about that with Naomi as well. Like me, Maisie Williams.
Yes, me.
It's hard being an immortal with having relationships. Actually, the one I'm particularly thinking of is more Torchwood. Children of the Earth. Because that absolutely comes up in that. And immortal, like being Jack Harkness. And how he goes about existing in a world where he's gotten married, fallen in love, and watched those people age from varying closenesses. It gets covered a couple of times in Torchwood now, when I think about it.
God, that just sounds like a bummer.
Oh, that's Children of the Earth. That whole series is a big fat bummer. Like, it is depressing and confronting. Yeah, it's got that scene where, Gwen says, I'll ask Jack sometimes when some of these things happen, where is this doctor of his? Why doesn't the doctor turn up? And then I realized sometimes the doctor must look at this planet and turn away in shame.
Sometimes the doctor must look at this planet and turn away in shame.
Torchwood gets dark.
Man.
In a way that Doctor Who just never does.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah.
It's still good watching, though.
Yeah. So the doc says the gods play tricks, but I beat them. I always win. Let's see. Belinda's saying goodbye to him. She says, why? She says she's got to stick with Poppy. He says it's been an honor, a nightmare, and a triumph. She says maybe when she's grown up, we can go out. I couldn't do that. I'd be like, Doctor, you're coming to my house at least twice a year until my kid is 18, and then you're going on adventures. Like I would set a plan. I'd be like, give me a magical cell phone. I'll only call you in emergencies,
Like Martha. Again.
Yeah.
I mean, he does tend to come back to some companions more than others. Like he goes and visits Amy and Rory at Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, when she says, but will you? Oof. Will I ever see you again, or do you never go back? I hope you'll see me again. He says, but not like this, and points to his face. Ugh. She says, why do I feel like there's something I've forgotten?
Why does it feel like there's something I've forgotten?
That's our lives, Belinda. We travel in and out of the slipstreams of time. Beautiful things can be forgotten and gone, but they still happened somewhere. I think one thing remains. I love you, and I love you, Pops. That will never change.
So we've got growth at least.
Yeah. So out in space, Doc has a bit of a muse. He gets a big old smile. He says, I don't want to do this alone. And the way he describes this, it sounds like he visits Joy from time to time when he wants a quiet moment of joy.
I think he does. I just found this whole bit on the nose.
On the nose because he says the text. He says the subtext. Hat on a hat.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't mind the doctor doing a farewell tour before they go. Like, David Tennant's went on for half an episode.
Yep.
Joy to the world!
That is exactly the word. This has been an absolute joy.
And we were all collectively screaming because we were not expecting a regeneration.
I was just like, what the fuck? How could
I think
you
your
do
comment
this to me?
my favorite comment of yours about it was, feel like someone close to me's just died.
Yeah. I love this guy.
Well, we've always known about regenerations coming before the episode, like well before. Even Eccleston was announced as gone before the show even aired.
Okay, well, Doc explodes in 7 lines of light. He's smiling. He looks forward. And Billy Piper sort of floats through where he kind of is.
So,
looks
did you
around.
notice seconds while he's regenerating, there is a flash to the TARDIS console?
And
And
like
I think
just a
that's
frame or we're
seconds.
looking through the door.
It's just a total jump cut to the TARDIS console, which I think is a hint about Billy Piper and why we're getting Billy Piper in this moment. Because at the end of the parting of the ways, and I know this is this is far from an original theory, Rose looked into the heart of the TARDIS, and the TARDIS looked into her. That's what she says when she's becoming Bad Wolf. And this could be I think the obvious explanation is the TARDIS is able to kind of generate Rose's space in the regeneration.
To what end?
Well, that we don't know. I mean, I have production reasons why. But I know you hate those. You can't help it though, right? Like, these kind of what drove this kind of decision making. I think the easiest explanation is they don't know when or if they're going to be renewed. So this is a really good way to leave it open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't come back, it's ended where it began. It's bookended. If it does come back, then it's easily explained away either through the TARDIS console, which is why I think there's that little cut to the console for no apparent reason, so that they can go, all right, 2 years from now, we've cast a new Doctor. Billy's probably like filmed, and it is like you said with like Romana choosing her face. It's a placeholder. I struggle to think like this is the best I can do as far as in-world reasons as to why it's Rose's face, or is it Rose? Is it the Bad Wolf from the Day of the Doctor? Is it
the fact that it says "Oh, hello" to the camera, I think suggests that it's got to be an entity like Bad Wolf.
I think so.
Someone who is aware that there's an audience, whether that's us or the Pantheon.
I didn't take it that way. I took it as she's saying hello to herself.
Maybe, but she's looking right down the barrel of the camera.
I guess in my mind, I'm like, bear with me here. If this was real, in the real world, and wasn't a TV show, like, I guess that's just, she could have just gone, ooh, hello. Like,
how'd I get here?
Yeah. Oh, hello.
And I mean,
I'm
she
here.
does sort of look around a little, but she has to keep her head in the frame.
Yeah, so they can put her on Shooty's body.
I imagine if they go right back to that moment at the start of the next series, that she'll be more animated.
I hate that we don't know anything. I hate we don't know that if it's been renewed, if we're going to get more, we're going to get this. No Christmas special. I think if they were bringing it back quick, like if they do get renewed and they decide to go pull the gun on it quickly, they could have a special with Billy running around.
Mm-hmm.
As a kind of stopgap 16th. I think more likely it's just going to be like a transitional regeneration.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe she has to track down some people or things And so she needed the power of the TARDIS or Bad Wolf to do it. Maybe the Doctor's atoms can't solidify until something, you know.
Yeah.
It's sad that we'll never get to hear the 15th Doctor theme again, except these episodes exist, so we will.
Yeah. And surely they do the flashback sequences. We'll get it. Might get it a bit then.
Yeah.
When the Doctor's having some sort of dramatic moment, they love showing all the faces.
Yeah.
I'm just so sad we only got 2 seasons of Shooty.
It sucks.
So but something that gave me hope. So this is something that happened to me when just over this weekend, my friend sent me a video of his 2 daughters watching, and they listen. Hi guys, watching the regeneration happen, and his youngest, she looked at the camera and was like, "I don't want it to happen," and it hit me that this is her Doctor. Shooty is the first Doctor that she remembers. And I asked her on the weekend, I was like, "Who's your favourite Doctor?" And it was Shooty. She asked me who my favourite Doctor was first. And it's like there's a whole generation of kids that Shooty will be their Doctor. And who are experiencing regeneration for the first time that they can recall. Which to me makes it a beautiful thing and makes me want, even more than just for my own sakes, like the importance of having the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids are more likely to do things that are new. So letting Doc go away for too long, you're going to miss some kids. I just want everyone to love this show as much as I do.
Mm-hmm. We need the Doctor.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I can't imagine a world without it, but I lived through the wilderness years, so I think that makes me more stressed about this hiatus than anything.
Yeah.
I'm so aware that the show can go away. And we never knew we were going to get more. I don't like not knowing if there's going to be more.
I bought season 1 and Joy to the World on Blu-ray. Who knows if they'll work in my Blu-ray player because they're from England. Because I'm just so afraid that Disney will... I have an Xbox and I have an external drive for my computer that should work, but we'll see.
I mean, it's Blu-ray's the same with like the PAL versus NTC or whatever it was.
America is region 1 and like some other spots, and or I guess I should say the USA, and UK is part of like Western Europe or something. And so some Blu-ray players don't play them both.
Oh, I always remembered that being an issue with DVDs, but I'd never really got into the I've got my Blu-ray collection is limited in comparison to my VHS, DVD, and file collections.
Yeah, I just wanted to buy them just in case Disney fucking scraps the whole thing like Sony has done or other streamers.
So what do we think? What have you heard? What do you think about what the future of the show is?
I mean, we can only speculate. Like RTD says he's got 2 more seasons in him, like prepared and if not written, like outlined. So I don't know. I was going to share some thoughts from friends and stuff online, but before I do, let's finish up our own thoughts here. What kind of predictions do you have?
I'm holding out hope that the war on the land and sea is all a cover-up for a 3rd season, but I'm not holding my breath.
Incredible.
Just grasping
It's
at
the most
delusion.
audacious, it's the most RTD thing of all time to just troll the entire world. He's had Doctor Who in his back pocket this whole time.
And maybe it's because I'm a wrestling fan and this kind of like swerve is exactly the sort of thing that I appreciate.
Well, talking of Russell Tovey, have you seen the American Horror Story season with him?
No, I've watched one season of American Horror Story. It is not for me.
It's a very ugly, like, horny show.
I
Bloody.
watched a whole season. I gave it a red hot crack.
I quit for years after the circus one because there was an evil clown with sharp teeth. I couldn't handle it. But anyway, there's one where he's a police officer. He's closeted. He's in the gay scene. And there's somebody murdering gay men. And it's kind of an AIDS allegory. And he's so good in that one. I think that's the one he got super jacked for, which is why he's like beefy now.
No, I didn't even realize he was. So for me, my favorite Russell Tovey is in Years and Years, which is also written by Russell. Sure, I mentioned before, with Emma Thompson as like a Trump, Boris Johnson-esque, more Trump because she had a like TV profile, and then ended up becoming this like severe right-wing nut job. And so the way the premise of Years and Years is it kicks off with a nuclear attack in China by the US, but it's all told through the lens of this one family, which Russell Tovey is one of them. And it does massive time jumps. So and it's all centered around these regular dinners they have at their aunt's house. But like one of the sisters was there at the time, so there was of the bombing. And so there's the impact on her and her health and her life. And Russell Tovey's character falls in love with a refugee. It's beautifully done. Great show. I won't go into too much more detail because I really want you to watch it. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Hell yeah.
He's just great in that. But that is a very sad and depressing show, and you do not watch it if you are feeling vulnerable.
That's why I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you got to be feeling strong within yourself to watch that show. I was not. I caught myself a couple of times because I didn't know what was coming. And of course, Midshipman Frame, he's wonderful.
Oh, hell yes. So I asked AJ, who was on our Rose episode, what they thought of the season. Let's see. Oh, and they said it was fine if I use this. So first up, I genuinely thought it was the Master again. Who is this time lady?
Yes, AJ.
I just went on a fucking journey. Nothing surrounding Poppy makes sense. I mean, it does, but it's hard to think about. I genuinely thought it was going to play out that Belle was Poppy, but that wasn't it. Then I was like, well, maybe once she was out of the thingy, reality caught up and she was a wish, but Ruby disproved that. It's all fucking bonkers, mate. Let's see. So we talked about having to rewrite the whole season if actors leave or whatever. I asked him like his favorite supporting characters from the season, and he thinks maybe Mike and Gary from the Interstellar Song Contest. Also Rose Ayling Ellis from The Well.
She was phenomenal.
I thought Freddie Fox as the Hellion kid was really good.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed him in that.
That episode was so well directed. My God. Whew.
Shirley Bingham for me.
Oh yes, yeah, that was mine too. Shirley just had so many good little moments, and just her overall, like, she's the grit, in Unit. She's the never back down character. One of the moments AJ liked was the asshole soldier finding out after he fucked around.
Yeah.
he got fucked up real good. They liked the resolution to the story in the engine. They linked the history of box braids. Favorite episode was the Interstellar Song Contest. Visually speaking, it was beautifully done. I don't think that the image of everyone being launched out of the stadium will ever leave my mind.
Same.
And I was like,
That
I almost
shook me.
wanted to use that as my screensaver, but it's too grim.
No, it's just very Titanic.
Yeah.
The body, ice-covered bodies all float en masse, floating. That it almost triggering in that way.
Yeah. They loved the fans from Lux. They said they were fantastic, if you'll pardon the pun. Doc torturing. We coined a word. Doc torturing, they say, is 100% a searchable porn category. Then we talked about other gay characters, because Turing somehow got mentioned, and we were trying to think of other.
The Imitation Game the other day. That's the movie with Benedict Cumberbatch about Alan Turing. It's incredible.
So we were trying to think of notable historical figures that are queer that could, like, make an appearance in Doctor Who. I was like, maybe Bowie or Mercury.
Frida Kahlo.
Frida Kahlo is in a book that recently came out that's very good. It's short. It's more on the kid end of, like, the literary spectrum, but it's really good. What is that thing called? Vamp for me. I'm just looking at.
I'm just trying to think of different. Now I'm trying to think of different queer, like, people from history. Alan Turing's obviously a really good one. Agreed. Bowie.
Marsha P. Johnson, who threw the first brick at the Stonewall Uprising.
Anne Lister, the landowner, female landowner who ran around with all her outfits tailored to look like male aesthetic, and is famously the first lesbian wedding in the UK. Is considered when she and her partner took the sacrament together to solidify their relationship and exchanged rings. She'd be a cool one to do. And then you could bring Saran Jones back, who plays her in the TV show Gentleman Jack.
I wonder if I read it.
Harvey Milk. Harvey Milk would be a good one.
Harvey Milk, yeah. Oh, for sure. No, it's not the Maiden Crocodile. Is it Caged? No.
Are you still looking for the book?
I'll just Google it.
We've got some more. I mean, Judy Garland would be amazing.
I asked AJ, does Judy count? And they said Judy absolutely counts.
It was Judy's funeral the night of the Stonewall riots. That's why emotions were so heavily raised that night, was they'd all just come from Judy Garland's funeral.
And then we got derailed by Musk chat. Let me see what I've got by way of my socials here. Did you have any friends chime in on this stuff?
Yeah, well, my friend Tony absolutely was completely, like, we were all completely blown away by the absolute everything, like, that went on. It was, but I think there was a lot of baffled people. Certainly, I know Tony said he's like, if this is meant to draw in new viewers, are they bringing up too much old lore that people don't follow? So I think that's an interesting thought. I thought it was good to do that, and Russell had a mandate in a way.
The way people watch TV shows now, it's like, do you like the vibes? Do you like the stories week to week? And do you want to know more about the lore? Then you're in. You don't have to know all of it on first viewing, because it all ties together. Like, and I don't think it's too much, but I might be defensive. I don't know.
Well, I've heard for like streaming services, I think Adam mentioned this, it was that they could then package up the associated episodes. Like, want to know more about the Rani? Here's the Rani.
Hell yeah. Like comic books with their little box and the number and the date of the issue the thing was in.
So you could also, and I've heard that this is part of the negotiation issue with Disney, is Disney wants access to the classic episodes.
Direct competition with BritBox in the States.
Well, that
at
would
least.
be, it would be, I imagine, moving it off one and onto the other, right?
I would be very reluctant to do that as the BBC.
Exactly. So that might be part of the issue.
They'd have to pay a shit ton of money. And have all sorts of out clauses.
But if they, like in, the negotiation table, they're like, well, we'll hold off offering to do, you're here now, it's established, you've gotten used to our money, now we'll threaten to take it away unless you give us the rest.
Yeah, and a public broadcaster can't expose themselves to that kind of liability, can they?
Well, can they?
Can they?
Well, in this world, like there would have been times where I would have said absolutely not, but there's a lot of things that have been happening in recent years that I would have said absolutely will never happen.
I mean, I guess Children's Television Workshop went over to HBO and did Sesame Street a few seasons over there, and then I don't think it's on PBS anymore. I don't think it is. Like, I don't know where you get those episodes, but so yeah, it can happen in some cases. Hopefully BBC holds its license.
It's a lot of, because we've always had Doctor Who on the ABC down here until these 2 seasons. And there were quite a lot of people who were put out by that because of the reciprocal nature of the relationship between the ABC and the BBC.
Okay, I'm going to search because I didn't copy and paste all these. I'm going to try to find them. So I don't know this person's actual name. A ham, a plan, a canal, some other stuff. In my correct opinion, I think Doctor Who is best when it's highly episodic space-time adventures that explore a different thing per episode. I think the finales I like best are just that, but a bit bigger. The ones that try to be a finale that tie in the whole season are the messiest and have the least time to spend doing the stuff we actually like. Character moments, interesting sci-fi ideas, whimsical adventure, because they are too bogged down in trying to be a finale.
That's interesting. Through analysing this episode and the end of the season, I went through and listed all the final episodes. Because initially I was like, oh my God, does Russell just suck at sticking the landing? So I had to, go back over them and think about it. And then I remembered Doomsday.
Is that the last episode of the first season?
Second season, where Rose gets stuck on the other side of the wall, and he has to send the message to her, and she goes to Bad Wolf Bay, and burning up a supernova to say goodbye. Like, the most painful, like, Rose Tyler Eye, and then he disappears. That scene where they're on either side of the wall and they've both got their face against it and Rose is crying, like, that's phenomenal. That's good TV. So it can be done.
Everybody knows I love Martha. Her and Rory are like my favorite companions. And I love a lot of Last of the Time Lords. Is that the last one? Or is it Sound of Drums?
Yes.
Last of the Time Lords.
Last of the Time Lords.
But I don't like the Dobby Doctor. I don't like the Doctor beating up his wife. I mean, the Master beating up his wife. Like, there's certain things that are just kind of icky about that episode.
Mm.
And the general conceit that Martha has to travel the earth, spreading the story of the Doctor, like, it's a little cheesy. I think I like this one better than that. But anything with the Daleks is going to crush this, you know?
So the Parting of the Ways has the Daleks.
Donna's last episode, is it Journey's End?
Journey's End. Journey's End has the Daleks. And Davros. So bonus points there.
Yeah.
Journey's End is also phenomenal. Like, I'll cry every time when they're all flying the TARDIS together to, like, like a tugboat taking Earth home.
Yeah. It's certainly better than last season, The Empire of Death.
Yeah. I'd put that on the lower end. Parting of the Ways is good. The End of Time I included as a final episode, even though that was just a series of 4 specials over a year.
That's Jumping Master. Lightning Master.
Yeah, that's when everyone becomes the Master throughout the world, except for Donna. Which always makes me wonder, are all the other companions living their lives are they like suddenly in a world where everyone's Harold Saxon?
Like if you have a little Archon on you, you don't turn into the Master?
Well, that was why Donna didn't. That was the reason they gave for why Donna didn't. So I always like to imagine like Martha, Sarah Jane, and
everybody's
Tegan
just hiding out in their crawl space.
Just going, why is everyone now? Because none of them would remember the year of hell that, because that all that time got reversed. And the only reason Martha's family remembers it is because they were so close, like the epicenter. So what do we have next? We had the Big Bang.
I think the Giggle might count. I mean, it's a special.
I counted the Giggle.
So the Giggle is
so anything
fantastic.
with a regeneration, even if it was a special, I counted it. That was kind of the way I was like, some Christmas episodes and some Christmas specials, I've just if they didn't contain a regeneration, I didn't count them as a final of a season. I counted the end of the seasons.
The Power of the Doctor is one of my favorites, but it is sort of an edge. It's not quite a season, but it's a season in one episode, essentially.
Well, yeah, because it's post-Flux.
Yeah, the end of Flux was a little limp.
I kind of skipped Flux because it's a single, like, it was 6 episodes.
There's some great shit in there, but there's also a lot of sort of, I don't know, half-realized ideas. But the Sontarans, the Cybermen, and the Daleks all, like, wage massive war on each other at the end. It's fucking great.
The Wedding of Riversong. So I felt like that was the one that was... This episode was kind of a combination of The Wedding of Riversong and Last of the Time Lords in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of similarities.
The Name of the Doctor, which is where you get the Clara resolution of who the Impossible Girl is.
Is that the town called Christmas?
No, that's The Time of the Doctor. So I included that, even though it's a Christmas special, because it involved a regeneration.
Okay.
Now, then come a couple that I do not remember being final episodes of a season, but they were. So you've got Death in Heaven, where Danny Pink died.
Oh. Yeah.
And so there's dark water, so he's died, and there's dark water, and she's forcing the Doctor to go and find him.
Yeah. The Brigadier becomes a Cyberman.
Exactly.
Danny dies.
I forget that that's a season ender. The other one that really surprised me as a season ender was Hellbent.
How's that one end?
I punched just through all the diamonds, and then the doctor,
I thought that was Heaven Sent.
No, that's the first. Heaven Sent's the first one. It's Heaven Sent, then Hellbent.
Okay.
I kind of think of them as kind of one episode. Most of the finales have all been two-parters, by the way. The only ones that weren't are The Wedding of River Song, The Name of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor.
Pandorica opens, Big Bang.
Yeah. So
that one was fine. The last episode of season 6 is
The
pretty
Wedding of River
interesting.
Song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, The Wedding of River Song. So he begins on the banks of Lake Silencio when she chooses not to kill him and changes a fixed point. So that's where it's got the tessellator.
Yeah, the tessellator brings it down for me. I think this one edges out that one a touch just for me because of certain ideas or things that happen in that one. How does season 7 end? It's with Clara. I guess there's 2
that's
seasons
the name
in
of the
one.
Doctor.
The last part of 7A is Angels in New York.
Angels
yeah.
But I skipped that as well. So the name of the Doctor is the one where Clara goes back through the Doctor's timeline like a leaf, inserting herself everywhere.
I really like that one.
I was annoyed by that one because, but I also think just a lot about Clara's story annoys me. The focus on the impossible, it loses a lot of rewatch value once you know the mystery solved.
Okay, yeah.
And I put a lot of stock in rewatch. The Doctor Falls.
Okay, that is
devastating.
The ship that's going into the black hole. Bill comes among Dassey and Cyberman, all that.
Yes. That was devastating. Absolutely devastating.
Does the Missy thing get resolved in that episode?
Yes.
Oh, Missy meets John Sims and they shoot each other.
Yes. Which I loved. That whole, the fact that it's such a master thing to do. To kill your own future regeneration.
Fucking crazy.
Because then the implication is John Sim regenerates into Missy at that point, right?
Yeah.
But we don't see it. So it could have regenerated into a Sasha Dewan for all we know.
That's a good point.
And Sasha Dewan could have been between John Sim and Missy. It would make more sense because Missy did a lot of therapy with the Doctor.
Right.
To try and come good. So it makes more sense that the deranged Sasha Dewan master kind of goes in between. Then we've got Twice Upon Time, which is incredibly weak in my opinion.
Is that the one where he meets the first Doctor?
Mm-hmm. It's when he regenerates. It's when Capaldi regenerates.
There's a lot of great stuff in it, but I don't think it stands up as a
Now, this is the one I forgot completely, which was the Battle of Ranskor Avkolos.
Just not a great episode, you know.
And it's a final. That's another one I could have sworn was mid-season.
Well, because that season was structured to be episodic with thematic resonance at the end with Grace and Graham, but that's about it. Not, not a... I mean, the monster was the guy from the first episode, and there was some stuff with Graham wanting to get him or whatever, but...
Tim Shaw.
Not enough to be a finale.
Agreed. Now, this one I like, and this one counts, is The Timeless Children.
Yeah, I didn't love it at first because I didn't like how the action with the Cybermen and stuff was happening. Big portal, But on rewatching it, It's so powerful, especially the stuff with the doctor and her memories and the timeless child and all that stuff. Is all that in the finale?
Yes, that's all. That's all the timeless child. Was the kind of couple of episodes prior, like they do lead into that. That season's a little bit less episodic because but that's where we get all the stuff with the Irish guy and we don't know what's going on with this guy, and it's not till he falls off the cliff, which was very Broadchurch. And then he regenerates, and we're like, but he doesn't really regenerate. He kind of just, I really liked that though. I like the whole timeless child concept. I've really sat with it a few times now and made my peace with it, and I'm cool with it. Then we've got the power of the Doctor, which I just love. Sacha Dhawan, Master as
one
Rasputin.
Of the best.
Oh,
and classic Doctor Who is light on finales. They the closest thing to finales are regenerations.
Yes, because they do like 4-episode arcs, 5-episode arcs.
Right, they don't do whole
story was always ongoing.
Arcs. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, because it aired a lot more too. I think it aired for a greater portion of the year. You know, they were spitting out a lot more back then. Network, but even then, the eras back then, that's just what was done. You did these long seasons.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're getting shorter and shorter, really. So then we've got the Giggle, where there was I counted that because it's a regeneration and because it's the end of a series of specials. Then Empire of Death, which
it's near the bottom.
Yep. Not a great one. And then finally the Reality War. So I would call it mid-tier.
Yeah, it's definitely in the middle somewhere.
It's better than...
It's RTD, so it's got tons going for it. But it's also production problems have really damaged it.
Because I think it stands up better than, Twice Upon Time. I think it stands up better than the Battle of Ransford of Colossus. Even Hellbent.
Yeah.
I like Hellbent and Heaven Sent as a unit, but I always forget their finales. The last 10 minutes of Hellbent has nothing to do with the story we've just been watching. And it's all about them stopping Clara's heart between her last heartbeats, making her a fixed point. And then we don't know who, because only one of them can have memory of the other. They have that whole dilemma of...
I do like that, yeah.
And we don't know. We see him in the diner talking to Clara, and we don't know which one of them doesn't remember the other.
Yeah.
And then we realize it's the Doctor when he's playing Clara's theme on his guitar. And she zooms off with Ishilda in their diner TARDIS.
I always forget that the Doctor forgot about her.
Yeah, the Doctor forgot about her. I always forget that too. That's what I mean when I say I put Hellbent and Heaven Sent in this, it's all built around the Doctor breaking through that wall of diamond to get through to Gallifrey.
Okay. All right. Back to the friendos.
What else you got?
Matt Actual says, at least for the original RTD era, I wouldn't necessarily argue that the finales are culminations of big arcs per se. Stuff like Bad Wolf and The Master are more things that are seeded throughout the season, but rarely in ways that are evident until we head into the final two-parter. But they are big and bombastic stories with bigger stakes than usual. And I also think there's some combination of the nature of Doctor Who and RTD's sensibilities as a storyteller, where the resolution always kind of feels a little wobbly and maybe a little deus ex machina, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
They're not perfect, but there's some good ones. I think this one,
Oh man, somebody posted a Dugadoo cover on the Adam Richard Has a Theory Facebook page. Oh, shit. Okay, let's see. LJS says, End felt reused. I think it's reused and unearned. Belinda was poorly served by the finale. Ruby less so. Barely got a chance to know the Rani. No real chance to know Omega or what the big deal was, given how quickly the Doctor handled the situation.
Agreed.
Yep. Can't
I
disagree
even had
with
in my
any of
notes at the point where he killed Omega. Well, that was easy.
that. All we had to do was shoot it? Oh, man. See, in a true fantasy, the Rani being chomped would have disrupted the spell, and the creature would have just been out immediately. Like, it would have been raging, blowing up the castle. Like, the whole crawling out of the portal thing is why, you know? Why is it so hard to get out?
Yeah, we absolutely could have just done without Omega. It was trying to bring back too much at once. The Rani was enough. I would have rather used that time to have a payoff on the Susan.
Oh, man.
We didn't mention that in our loose ends before, but it's the fact we got no payoff on the Susan appearing.
Yeah, it
you
just
gotta
lives.
use it while you can.
Just lives.
She's not
in
gonna be
his
around
head
forever.
as a vision. That's all we get.
I always imagined it was her doing that contact thing.
Yes, absolutely. It could be that for sure.
Right.
I heard somebody say that she got the Doctor to stop torturing Freddie Fox. She didn't. And then they also said that no,
she said, grandfather, you can stop now.
But he didn't stop. It wasn't until Belinda said Doctor that he stopped.
Oh, interesting.
Like, he was going so far, his own vision of Susan couldn't stop him. And it took Belinda.
Oh.
It may have just been I don't know, a quirk of the direction or something, but that's the sense I got.
I mean, it could be that it just took a minute for it to sink in, like to think about what she was saying, and then Belinda doubling down snapped him out of it.
Yeah.
Completely.
So the Tiki Doctor over at Temple of Geek says, first of all, I adore Ncuti Gatwa. He was a great representation of the Doctor. Loved his humor, loved his humanity. Although the crying in every episode got to be a bit predictable, again, just my opinion, and loved his energy. I was very, very disappointed at how RTD kept saying over and over that, quote, the rumors were not true, Ncuti was not fired, etc., only to pull the plug after 2 series. Now I know the reason, Disney dragging their feet and Ncuti becoming quite the hot commodity, so I am truly happy for him. Then They have some criticisms about the backlash against Jodie, shortening the seasons, Chibnall not being a good writer.
We can agree with that. He is a good writer, though.
Inconsistent.
The Power of 3 is amazing.
And the Power of the Doctor is amazing.
Rosa. Did he write Rosa?
He didn't write Rosa.
No.
That's the thing. Most of his best episodes are ones other people wrote. Although Flux was all him, and that was Village of the Angels.
Oh, yeah. War of the Suntarans. That was incredible. Like, the Suntaran stuffing his face with chocolate in that corner store was...
Yeah. The one where Yaz, Dan, and the old guy were back in time for 3 years.
Yeah, I liked that.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I think you apply the Star Trek movie theory to it, and it works. Is it the odd ones are shit and the even ones are good, or is it the other way around?
Oh, Star Trek films?
Yeah, well, you could apply the same to Flux, same logic. Like, I think every second one is good,
Yeah.
and the alternate ones are weaker.
Yeah, I would say weaker, the Star Trek odd ones.
And same, you could say the same with Flux, right? Yeah, like War of the Sontarans is great. Village of the Angels is great. So I'm glad we got to see a version of Jodie written by someone else.
Yes. They were some of her best episodes. I mean, I guess how do I put it? I will never understand why the guy that wrote The Hungry Earth got the job, but a lot of great episodes came out of that time. And Jodie and Yaz and Dan and
Demons of the Punjab.
Graham.
I know he didn't write that, but it was showrunning for it. Like,
so good.
That episode is one of, because I always love it when I learn something.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about partition, so
The Witchfinders.
I love the Witchfinders. A lot of people don't like
good.
the Witchfinders. I love the Witchfinders, not just because it's got Mrs. What's Her Face from Downton Abbey as the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Super Camp Alan Cumming as King James. Yes, please.
Hell yeah.
Cracking onto Ryan.
This person wasn't crazy about Bigeneration. They felt like it was a way for RTD to have it both ways, to try to like sucker in old fans with Tennant and like go in a new direction with Shooty. Cutting the numbers and the run times so you don't get as invested in the characters. And they didn't like the finale. They have this word called member berries.
That's from South Park.
Okay. It's like just another word for Easter eggs?
No,
fan service?
They're an actual thing in this episode of South Park. They're these little bit, and they're like, but remember when it was like this? And it's basically those little voices who are like, we like this because it was nostalgic. And these member berries take over the world. It's this whole, it's weird ass episode of South Park, but I'm not doing it justice. It's a great episode. Like, I think it would hold up a lot of South Park. It's very timely, doesn't work outside of the time that it was aired because it was so relevant. But the member berries kind of makes fun of that. The people who only want to, it was only good because when, it was only good in my day. Very much makes fun of those kind of people.
Okay, here we go. Haven over at the Duras Sisters podcast, Patreon, Discord. They said, mentioning Yaz broke me. About 13, never saying I love you. Haven says, I don't believe that Billy Piper is Doctor Number 16, but perhaps the trickster. Actually played a trick on the Doctor in thinking they look like Rose, Bad Wolf, the Moment. Or if by any chance Stephen Moffat writes the next episode, we are seeing the Moment.
I think that's more likely than a version of Rose.
I don't know about the Moment. The Moment's just a big bomb. Like what would
more,
she be doing
I think
there?
I think the representation of, I think we're getting Rose. I think we're getting Billy Piper now for the same reasons that we got Billy Piper as the Moment, because when the TARDIS wants to conjure up an image from the past to, give gravitas to a moment or a situation, she's an obvious choice because of looking into the heart of the TARDIS at the end of the Parting of the Ways. So it's the Bad Wolf more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that all makes sense. She didn't have an alternate dimension Rose vibe to her, I didn't think.
No.
She seems more like wide-eyed and chipper.
Yeah, no, it's a version, like it's like not like the Dr. Donna, but it's got the freshness of a newly generated Doctor energy, but Rose's face as acted by Billy Piper. And I think it also works that she's not Billy because of the amount of work she's had done, particularly her new teeth. Like, it makes sense that she, like, I'm like, you look different enough that you're like this mystical new.
Yeah, it's got to be something else.
She's obviously aged.
Yeah.
She's such a great actress, though. Like, everything I've seen her. Have you watched her in anything else?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I have some recommendations. Secret Diary of a Call Girl was like the thing she did after Doctor Who. And she plays a sex worker, and it's a couple of seasons, it's very good. Then another one she does is I Hate Susie, where she's a fading pop star actress, so she's kind of a bit of a version of herself, who is then caught in some photos are leaked in a mass drop of her in a compromising position with someone who is very clearly not her husband, and it's about the fallout from that.
Oh my!
It's got its dark moments, but it's very good. And of course, she was Cassandra in Chaos on Netflix with Jeff Goldblum as Zeus. All the modern incarnation of all the Greek gods and them through the lens of the modern world.
Wasn't she in a Victorian show? Is it Peaky
Blinders?
Blinders?
She's done a few period dramas and stuff as well. These are, I guess, the ones that
you've seen.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing for me. Like Billie Piper, like I used to listen to her pop songs when she was a pop artist. As I said before, it's what put me off watching New Who in the beginning, because it felt like stunt casting.
Well, I'm not ready to let go of this season. I need to kind of give a few awards. We talked about supporting character. Shirley's right up near the top of the list. Colonel Ibrahim, like, he didn't have as much to do, but I felt like the actor acquitted himself well.
It's just the interactions with him and Kate made me uncomfortable because of the power dynamics.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be why I wouldn't rate him higher.
I think Kate did really well, especially in Lucky Day.
The Whovians.
Yeah.
That's something special. Like, we'd put, like, guy in the diner down the bottom.
Well, his accent was so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad.
He tried his best. Oh, boy.
Oh, what about Sasha 55?
She was lovely, and she did a good job. Definitely on second and third watch, it hit more. Maybe having seen the whole season, it'll hit again.
Anita
was wonderful, but not as much to do here at the end.
And out of all the ones we've named, I think Shirley Bingham. It's got to be Shirley Bingham for me.
Yeah. So, best villain. We've got the Rani. We've got Conrad, Mrs. Flood, Kid, the Hellion, the barber, Lux, the monster. Yep. The cartoon guy.
Alan,
the AI generator. I think I'd give it to Lux. Oh, and the Midnight Entity.
Midnight Entity. Oh, that's interesting that you give it to Lux. See, for me, I've got the one I love, the one I enjoyed watching, and the one that would have to be the Rani. I enjoyed the performances the most. The one I felt was the most effective villain is Conrad.
Yeah.
Okay, really made me hate him.
He did a really good job, the actor. Yeah.
I do wonder if he was originally meant to be Roger Ap William as well.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Like, if the Wish world, that makes sense. Like, if it was in Roger Ap Williams' Wish. maybe they couldn't get him back, and so therefore they had to create Conrad and wrote in the whole story with Ruby. Maybe.
Conrad really is a posh, like, home counties dickhead compared to Ap Gwilliam, and a secret fascist instead of an open one.
Yeah, I think the honorable mention would be Kid the Hellion. I really loved Freddie Fox.
Oh, he's so good. That last bit where he's like being moved by their song, really strong.
Amazingly acted. He's brilliant.
Icon of the season. Like
Belinda's fashion.
Oh, Belinda's fashion, my God. The most indelible image from the season is, for me, is Belinda in the yellow dress, that perfect wavy hair. Also that shot of all the people flying out of the stadium.
Oh yeah, that's
the stars in the well above the planet. I have it as my screensaver because it's just so incredible. The AI generator himself, like when his thing opens up and that fucking kick-ass costume, makeup,
that was
whatever.
awesome. That was really awesome. The Rani flying around on her like Elphaba bone broom.
The doctor's flight with the theme going, and he's like dodging lasers, going up through the beast.
I'm so glad we're mentioning this because it brings back like the one note I didn't get to, which is the way the doctor's skirt flows when he's flying on the bone broom thing, the broom scooter. The way it floats, like flies in the air. Oh, I loved that. The doctor in that outfit, like that is very clearly a skirt cut for a male body shape as opposed to a man in a dress that because to me it's not cross dressing at all. It's a man in a skirt that was cut for that outfit, for his body type, the matching vest, the pants underneath, all of that. Brilliant. The fashion as a whole.
Yeah.
Across both seasons, like, the Doctor and Ruby in Rogue.
Is that just purely down to they got some of that Disney money? Or would it have looked as the art direction be as good if it was in-house?
Whoever did the art direction in this season in particular.
Just, I mean, top to bottom, excellent. Even down to like Conrad's suit in the last episode or the finale. Like just every outfit is just like
making
beautiful.
The books the same covers as Harry Potter. These subtle little choices that really added to something, like each episode having its own color palette. Like the Robot Revolution was all lots of bright reds against dark blues.
Mm-hmm.
Lux was all very pastels, very 50s sepia, kind of the way film was produced at the time. And then The Well was all navies and blacks and dark blues. Then what do we have? Lucky Day, which kind of had like a muted grey to it, I think, particularly with the hiding from the Shreek and like prison grey kind of energy. And then what was the next? The Interstellar Song Contest was a rainbow.
Yeah, hell yeah. The scene in Lucky Day that I think I'll never forget is when Ruby is describing how the Shreek will come for him. And the lights get low and we see him creeping outside the window. That was very cool.
It was very well done. I mean, that was our 73 yards, right? Like, it's,
Is that the best monster this season?
The Shreek.
Like, in terms of character design. The Midnight entity is invisible, so it's hard to...
I like the invisible. I'm always more afraid of the thing you can't see than the thing. That's my number one principle with horror.
Yeah.
I'm much more likely to watch something if you can't see what the thing is. And I find that so much scary. That's why I love Blair Witch Project so much.
Yeah. Hence why the bone beasts aren't very scary.
No, they were cartoonish.
Ooh.
And
what if there had been a fog covering the city and they loom out of the fog and the smoke? You know, there are ways to obscure them a little bit, make them less just part of the scenery.
Absolutely. I didn't like the bone beasts. I thought that was all in there for no good reason.
Yeah. No monsters in Interstellar Song Contest unless you count the Hellions, which would be
Or
rude.
you count the company. The company was the real villain of the Interstellar Song Contest. I didn't see the Hellions. I didn't see Kid. Mass murder or no, one person's terrorist, another person's freedom fighter. It's, as an activist myself, I find I always emotionally aligned to the underdog.
I don't think you can kill all the viewers because millions of them would be Hellions or their potential
No, they're
supporters.
already wiped out, though.
Well, there's clearly some still left out there.
True.
But also their supporters. Like, how are you going to politically achieve anything if you've killed off, you know,
well, he's
tons
had
of
time to
people that
refine his Delta Wave, to be fair. The reason the one the Doctor had at the parting of the ways was going to destroy everyone because the Daleks said it to him. He's like, you don't have time to refine the Delta Wave enough to differentiate between Dalek and human. Therefore, if you're going to wipe out all the Daleks, you have to wipe out all the humans. Whereas the kids' Delta Wave was pre-prepared. So you could have programmed it to not kill Hellions.
Wow.
There you go. Science from season 1. I like it when canon holds up like that.
Lux is a monster, especially when he gets like 3D and like, I don't know, Uncanny Valley looking.
I liked the resolution of Lux. I like it when the Doctor thinks it's his way out of the situation rather than just shooting Omega with a laser gun.
Yeah.
Same deal with the story on the engine.
Yeah, it takes some of the teeth out of their villainy because they come around at the end. The spider, the engine itself, isn't really a monster. It's just a conveyance.
No, construction, right?
Except I guess when its head is coming out the front door, but that's just a silly thing.
That's just there to mess with the arachnophobes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's got to be the Shreek is the best monster.
Midnight Monster for me.
Oh, yes, of course.
Like, but then as I was saying, it's just because
does the most damage for sure. Kills like 8 people.
I find the things scary, and I already have like trauma around Midnight. That episode, I'm very careful about when I watch that episode. I can't watch that episode before I go to sleep, and that's a statement on how scary that monster is to me. Especially if you don't know whether it got off the ship or not.
Yeah. So that's something coming back. Are there any innovations this season that will continue?
Oh, Mrs. Flood.
Well, she was in the last season, though. But I guess we're talking about both seasons in a sense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So Mrs. Flood. The fact that Bigeneration can happen to other Time Lords.
Yes. I was, and like, just quickly to dump it, on the Conrad thing, it just occurred to me, we were watching the Little Mermaid last night, and he performed so well as Conrad, it's broken my ability to enjoy him as Prince Eric.
That's a shame.
It is. I wish I'd seen the movie before I'd watched this season of Doctor Who because I can't. He was so good. Like it's like that Joffrey level.
Yeah.
People can't unsee you as this thing because you did such a good job as that thing. I hope it doesn't inhibit his career because he's a very good actor.
The story engine, the Nexus, that feels like something that could come back.
Yes. And we could have any other number of gods, arguably.
For sure. Lux could be out there, although he seems to have dissolved and become everything.
I reckon he still could turn up and save the Doctor one day.
Yeah.
Because he kind of was like, thank you, Doctor, at the end. He's like, cool, I got you. Literally solved the problem by giving the monster exactly what it wanted, to a degree. Which I thought was very, very clever as well.
I personally like the robots from the Robot Revolution, but I don't think they're beloved enough to come back.
Well, they brought back the drones from the Interstellar Song Contest in the following episode, which I thought was a bit pointless.
Yeah, they're just motorcycle bad guys. Nothing fancy.
Well, they're the same ones that in the episode of Smith and Jones, they're like the motorcycle bad guys who are
protecting the vampire lady.
Yeah. No, I mean...
Oh, set pieces. Any set pieces strike your fancy?
Lux, all of Lux.
Yeah, the theater, the film room, all that. Yeah. And then I would say the stadium, the station.
Oh, yeah, the stadium was... The inflatable stadium, that was cool.
Yeah.
I did kind of like the Rani's headquarters at the Bone Palace. I quite liked the big clock.
Yeah.
You know, tied back to midnight as well, because the Rani was getting, wanted all the doubt to build up to bring the clock around to midnight.
Yeah. The well looked good, but it was pretty bog standard space location.
Yeah, I could name at least 5 other episodes without thinking that.
Yeah.
Interchangeable.
And I guess the spinning unit layer, but I think we had it last season. I liked the time window downstairs, but the bridge deck wasn't that interesting. And it had the Vlinks in it, so fuck it.
Yeah, we don't like the Vlinks. Space box that I think they're like if we're going on the worst ones, the space box that Ruby and Poppy were in.
Oh, I thought it looked beautiful, but it was not. Well, I don't think it's big enough to be called a set piece. It's just a little thing.
I don't know, if I was dressing that set, I'd have given her a chair.
Yes, maybe some kids'
toys for the kid.
Yeah.
Like trying to keep a toddler in an empty room like that entertained while the world ends outside, or not ends, depending. I'd be, you want to at least give her an iPad or, just some toys.
Underwhelming surprises, I would say Rose reappearing.
Omega. Not when they dropped that it was Omega, I was like, wow, mind blown. And it just turned to be such a non-thing.
Yeah. I think it surely would have been expanded, but they needed to make room for Shooty's exit.
Could have done the whole Poppy storyline differently and saved a whole bunch of time.
Yes.
I'm going to be bitter about this forever.
So that brings me to emotional impact. I would say saving everyone at the station on Interstellar Song Contest. I would say saving Poppy.
biggest emotional impact for me was at the end of Lux, when the Whovians pop back up and it turns out they weren't winked out of existence.
There you go.
That
That's the one.
would be it for me, for sure, as far as emotional impact goes. Like, I found the entirety of Poppy's storyline, it did not move me in any way, shape, or form. If anything, if it moved me at all, it made me angry.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because I just want to love every episode of Doctor Who. I really want to love them all. But so hard. I am not a hashtag not my doctor. I am not a RIP Doctor Who person. Never have been. And I am accepting of episodes that I'd find less impressive. I'm accepting of the episodes I find less impressive, because the other good ones still exist.
Of course, yeah.
And you can really rewatch. You can rewatch a lot more frequently, I think.
I'm gonna rewatch Lux, The Well, The Story in the Engine, the Interstellar Song Contest. I'm gonna pick those bad boys up on any given Sunday. A special day for Lucky Day if I want to be angry after, And then the bookends are if I'm doing a rewatch probably, or if I want to enjoy the Rani.
The Rani was fantastic. I'm so glad they brought her back. They cast her brilliantly. I might go watch The Mark of the Rani and Time in the Rani, I think.
Oh, shit. So good. And bad. When are you going to do that? Tell me so we can watch them together.
Yes, I will. I've got them on my...
Shit. Assuming our schedules can match up and stuff.
I'm sure we can figure that. We've managed to podcast.
And
or
Mel.
Twice a week.
Mel, best thing returning from the past, I think. Or at least from Classic Who. The Midnight Monster returning is probably the best.
I like Mel better.
Yeah. Oh, I just love her. And the way her hair perms out when she gets back to unit. I was a housewife.
Again, shout to the art director, having Mel on an orange scooter with a different, a more burnt orange jacket, and then her hair being another tone of orange.
Yeah.
Because you could go too much orange on orange on orange, but the way they were all just slightly different tones, and then over the top of her blue jeans, it was just
so good.
Amazing. I would say this is one of the prettiest seasons.
Yes. I thought last season was pretty. This one just...
As far as visual appeal goes. I think that's probably where The Well loses me a little bit, because I always enjoy a nice color palette. Tell me a story in a well-lit room, please. I hate it when, the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones is unwatchable. It is so dark. It's legit on my TV.
I've heard it's better if you have it on DVD than on streaming.
My TV's pretty old too, so it doesn't, it's nowhere near close to, maybe it'd be better in 4K, but you might as well not watch it. It's just sounds happening with these tiny little dots of light.
Yeah.
That's it. I hadn't watched Game of, I rage quit after I was reading it and I got to the Red Wedding, and that was about when season 2 had just come out, was where I was up to in the books. And I was like, nah, sick of my favorite characters dying. I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. Not putting myself through this anymore. And so recently, just very, very recently, I went back and watched it all, because I watched House of the Dragon, because Matt Smith.
Yeah.
And look, it turns out Game of Thrones, very good show.
Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah. Who knew?
It ends awfully quickly, but at least they ended it.
Yeah.
George is going to die before that thing ever
We're
gets
never
ended.
getting Winds of Winter. It's not happening.
Mm-mm.
I've just kind of made my peace with that. But
Oh, God.
I just hope and I pray that this is not the end of Doctor Who.
It couldn't possibly be.
I appreciate your optimism. I wish I shared it.
It's going to be great. Don't worry.
I can wait if I know it's coming. We waited a long time in that Jodie era for episodes, and same with the Moffat era.
There was a whole year in the 80s where they thought it wouldn't come back, and it came back.
Not for long.
Season 22. Or maybe it was 23. No, it was 22. There was the period where David Tennant was doing specials, but it was like a long wait. There were some long waits in the Moffat period.
Yeah, the wait between A Good Man Goes to War and Let's Kill Hitler was massive.
Yeah.
That was a solid 6 months. With a cliffhanger, basically.
Yeah.
Because we find out who Riversong is, and then, boom, no Doctor Who for 6 months. Which felt bad at the time, and then we had a whole year where we got one special with Jodie. And the special was shit.
COVID really
that'll do
fucked up Jodie. Like, Jodie had the longest tenure in real world years, but way fewer episodes than the other doctors.
We had more time with Ncuti announced as the new Doctor with no new episodes. Which that was longer than the time he was actually the Doctor.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm glad we got him at all. He was always going to be a shooting star. The success of Sex Education was always going to guarantee that man a career, and therefore make him harder to hold on to. We've lost so many great. Well, not that we've lost them. They're off making other things, but that Karen Gillan, Matt Smith, like, they've got amazing careers.
Arthur Darvill did DC's Legends of Tomorrow. He was basically a Doctor
Who. Yeah. I quite liked it for that reason, though.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into that one yet.
Just give me time travel. I've said this a million times, but I just give me time travel as a trope, and I will find a way to get on board. I have a recommendation for you.
Please, yes, let's do it.
Jodie Whittaker as an actor is such a chameleon. Like, some of these actors, they just kind of play the same role over and over again. When Jodie, I've watched her in a few different things now, like Broadchurch, Black Mirror. She's the Doctor. And then recently there's an Australian series called One Night, which has Jodie Whittaker in it. It has Yale Stone, who's from Orange is the New Black. She's the one with the really strong New York accent, the Italian-American. She's actually Australian. And then there's an Australian TV show called Wentworth, which is a remake of a show from the 70s, which was one of Australia's biggest TV exports ever, which is Prisoners, mostly known as Prisoner Cell Block H. Great show, set in a women's prison. Incredible. And so they did a reboot of that called Wentworth, because they're in Wentworth prison, and Nicole Da Silva plays Frankie in that, and she is amazing. So these three actresses come together as co-leads. It's about three women who knew each other as teenagers in this coastal town in Australia, and they all experienced this massive traumatic event this one night, and then they all move apart as a result. Like, their friendships are all never the same again. And then this is about them coming back together 20 years later, because one of them's written a book about it.
Oh.
Jodie Whittaker in that is the most heartbreaking performance. And I thought the most heartbreaking performance by her I'd ever see would be Broadchurch, the Grieving Mother.
Oh, yeah.
But this, she can portray deep-seated trauma in her performances in a way that you rarely see. And it's very, 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 very good. probably got some vibes like I love anything that's like a dark story told in the beautiful surrounds of Australia, like Deadlock. This is not funny, by the way. It's not. It's gotta have your you gotta be feeling strong if you're gonna watch this one. All of the content and trigger warnings on it, but it is, if you're feeling up to it, one night, it's phenomenal. I smashed it all out in a day.
Hell yeah.
It's only like 6 episodes. It's a self-contained story. You won't get another season or anything of it. It's the story that it is. But yeah, having Jodie in it with all these amazing Australian actresses was pretty cool.
That's terrific. I would recommend A Very Ood Family.
Oh, yeah.
They're an Australian family. They get around the table and they interrupt each other incessantly. It's incredible. They just covered the whole season, and so I listened to all their episodes about this season, but they've been doing it a while. They've got a ton of episodes, so check them out. Very fun.
Definitely.
I think that's all I've got in terms of new stuff.
Oh, I've got another recommendation, actually. Death of a Unicorn.
Oh, you were telling me about that. That sounds crazy.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a good time. Watched a few good things lately. Honora was okay.
Poker Face is back for season 2, and it is so good. I think I've recommended on one of these already, but it's just so damn good. I hope that Natasha Lyonne backs off of this project she's working on that includes AI in the production.
Yeah, I was reading about that. It's not great.
I don't want to stop being able to enjoy Natasha Lyonne's work.
Because I love her in everything. Everything.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Barrymore was like union busting and stuff. Like, please don't do this, Hollywood celebrities. And if you get caught, apologize or reverse yourself, and let's stay together and help each other succeed rather than screwing the common man person.
It makes me uncomfortable that an artist would be supporting AI production in that way.
Yeah, hopefully she'll see all the backlash and correct. But until that happens, make up your own mind. Poker Face is pretty damn good.
Poker Face is great. I just watched the new episode yesterday. It made me cry.
Oh, and I finished Hacks. It's so good.
Hacks is the best. That video you sent me of Hannah Einbender was incredible too.
Oh, yes. Oh, people. Hannah Einbender at the Human Rights Campaign gave an incredible speech in support of Gaza and how Jews should stick up for the Gazan people. And it's like, yeah, no brainer. Right now, Greta Thunberg and the Madeleine Fleet are being kidnapped and rounded up by the Israeli forces. It's dark time.
I didn't think, but
on that level, I think Interstellar Song Contest is going to stand the test of time as a very important episode. I think Lucky Day is important, but I think it might be eclipsed.
The way they gave the space to the clearly pro-Palestine message.
Yeah.
Right at the time when immediately after that episode airing on the BBC was the final of Eurovision and Israel made the final. I heard that could be the reason that Shooty dropped out of presenting.
He didn't want to have to give it to Israel.
Yeah, well, I think they all thought no one was going to vote for them, and then they got through to the final, and that is absolutely a way. I mean, I'm totally speculating here. I have no evidence, but if that's the reason he dropped out, so much respect.
So much.
Like the fact that they are letting them participate while this genocide is happening is, but they banned Russia, right? They stopped Russia after the invasion in Ukraine from participating. Pretty sure.
The reality war, everyone. Let's get out of here, lick our wounds, and prepare for season 3 of Doctor WhoDis, The War Between the Land and the Sea.
Please, please, please.
Let's give a hearty welcome to the new Doctor, Russell Tovey.
I mean, Russell T Davies has been wanting to cast Russell Tovey as the Doctor for it. Like, you can just see it. He's obsessed. He loves him.
Great actor, handsome gentleman. It'll be great.
I wish I had your face.
All right. Tell us how to find you on the internet.
You can find me at Cosmic Cowgirl, KOSMICCOWGIRL on Blue Sky mostly, but on all the rest of the places except for TikTok.
Right on. You can find me all over the internet at El Jefe Tacoma. The Great and Secret Knowledge is on Facebook. We are available on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. It's greatandsecretknowledge@gmail.com. Please like us. Please tell your friends about us. Suggest ideas for things for us to cover. Right now we're covering Star Trek The Next Generation. Our next thing we'll be covering, Jessie and I, is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, and I just did a guest appearance on the Duras Sisters podcast, which should come out this week, but it is a coverage of 3 episodes of The Lower Decks, all set in caves. And we talk about what caves mean in Star Trek and like our favorite jokes. You know, it's a comedy show. So yeah, check that out. It's the Duras Sisters. You can find them on any podcatcher of choice. And listen to my other shows, Shattered Worlds RPG and Everything is Awesome with Jeff and Question Mark, and my streaming show every other Sunday at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, twitch.tv/Omniversal Escapades or youtube.com/Omniversal Escapades. This week, I will be hosting a live streamed interview and book reading with Chris Smith, author of DeForest Kelley, the man, the myth, the legend. That's not it, but his life and Chris's time spent with him near the end of his life, and also their experience coming out as trans in their 60s, 70s, up there. So that'll happen Wednesday at 7, I believe, the 11th. That's Wednesday, right? Yeah. So check that out on the Great and Secret Knowledge YouTube page. I guess that's it. That means I have to put this episode out before that or nobody will know. I guess it'll be archived.
Yeah.
So if you miss it live, you can see it.
You've redecorated. I don't like it.
A huge thanks to James Lark of jameslark.co.uk for providing our wonderful theme song. Thank you, James.
I knew I would get you in the end.
You've redecorated. I don't like it.
Yes. Perfect.
We've redecorated.
I don't like it.